Hey guys, it's Ren the Governor with another video for you all. I'm just going to show you guys my coloring process about how I go from sketching that I already scanned. I usually scan my sketches and put them on my computer, or just take an image that I took a picture of my sketch already and then throw it on the computer. And then I go to the lining process. So today I'm showing you guys my cell shading process, where it's just simple shading, simple highlights. I have other processes like watercolor and whatnot, but I'll show that in another video when I have the time. This is my character Danah from Providence, and I'm showing you guys just right now. I'm going through the line art process. I usually start with the face because I enjoy the face the most, and it's usually the easiest process, and it's the most expressive. I feel like that's the staple of the piece, so I usually like to start there to really get everything right, because if that's not right, then I'm usually pretty upset about it. I like to start with that first. And with Danah, she's a much more curvy character, probably the most curviest character I have out of all the characters from both of my stories, Hunters of Loomis and Providence. So there's a lot of round aspects to her body, like her breasts and her hips and everything else. So I had to show a lot of patience with this line art process, because I usually wasn't the best at doing one stroke lines. I had to really develop that art and that craft, and when I really switched to digital, that's where it really started to develop and grow. I had a lot of fun with that, just lightly holding my hand above the screen and then going through the different curves that are on her body and her figure. Then I went to the hair, and as you see, I went down to the hand, and I didn't even do the hand yet because I usually like to finish with that, or I do that closer to the end, because the hand is more detailed spots. After I did the bigger spots, like I did the jewelry, tedious process, especially if you don't do it right. Getting hands right are usually pretty difficult, even for me now. Even though I enjoy it a lot, it's still probably the more tedious part of what I do, so I leave that for last, just to give myself some extra time to really think about and process what I want to do. And like I said, told you how I either scan or take a picture of the art. I just kind of took a picture of this one, took the picture I put off on my Instagram, and then did that. So there were some pieces that didn't really reach out to the ends of the file page, so I had to sketch a little bit extra of the hand, just trying to get an idea of what I'm doing. I usually do this kind of pose a lot, so me picturing how I'd want that hand wasn't that hard. When I'm drawing female hands, I usually add a little more curvature, kind of like I do with her figure, to make it seem a little more feminine than my male characters. For my male characters, I kind of go a little more boxy. And now I'm adding, like I said, the final details like the necklace and the choker, just because those are things I know I can get to. I know I don't have to think too much about. And adding that neckline, I don't know what that part of the body's called, so because I'm no science major, so I'm just going to call that a neckline. Then I'll do the final bits of the hair. Danah has these two round buns. Usually the realism of the hair isn't what I'm too focused on. When I do characters, sometimes I try to do that, but with this one, I really like this design. I really like how it went. So I just kind of stuck with that design because I went through a couple redesigns with this character before I finally finished. And with this style, I usually don't always do this, but I'm going to show you guys. When I do my cell shading, I usually don't add the blacks as if it's a manga. So I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that. But before that, I'm working on trying to find the right background color, especially with the more simple colors I do. I just kind of add a flat color to the background. Probably could add a square color to make it look like a little cooler, but I decided to go with just a full color background. And like I said, I'll show you how I do the blacks. I usually don't do this when I do cell shading, but I decided to add it that time to just show you the two different techniques that I do. And with this one, I was trying to find the right skin tone, but obviously, as you can see, it wasn't coming out flattering, which is because the background was way too similar to the skin tone that I was using. So it came out looking really weird and really awkward, so I didn't want to use that. And The reason why I'm so purposeful about the background color that I use is because I usually use a color similar to that for the shading and the highlights. So I always have to find something that's either a good complementary color or a contrasting color to really give a nice effect to the body type and everything. And with this, since I already did all the lines and I closed all the lines up, I can just use the fill for all the colors, which is super nice, and her outfit's super simple. So I just use the magic wand and select. With my black characters, I love adding a darker upper lip to my characters. For her, I usually do a little lighter than I would for some other characters. Sometimes I'll add a darker upper lip, sometimes I'll add a slightly lighter upper lip. For hers, it's like not as dark as I go for other characters, but it was pretty fun. And then I go in with the jewelry, just adding those fill colors, and I did the eyes. Usually I start with the biggest parts like the body and the hair. And then I'll go into the jewelry, adding gold to the choker and the necklace on her neck, adding purple to some of the piercings on her ear. I decided to give her yellow for her swimsuit because I just think that really fits really well with her character and her skin tone, and trying to just keep all the colors very uniform in a way. So I'll throw the same colors that I put somewhere else. For her nails is always the hardest thing. Nails for female characters is always the hardest thing for me because I never really know what to do with that, and what would make it easier for doing it over and over and over again if I was to make that their only nail color. So I added purple just because there was purple other parts of the art piece. And then you see as I'm going in, there's the choker. I thought it was too thin. It didn't really look too nice, so I decided to darken it up with my thicker pen tool just to make it look a little more volume. I guess I should have rounded it off at the end of the neck so that it wouldn't look like it was just kind of flat on her body, but you know, I was just trying to do a quick little thing for you guys. So now I'm going in with the shading. Like I said, I usually use a color that's similar to the background. So I select, or I drop the background and then just go a few shades darker, and then use the multiply tool for that, so that I have the exact color that I'm looking for, that at least gives the same effect as if the background is what's giving the shading and the light to the character. So underneath, I decided that the light was going to be coming from the upper left corner. Usually with foils like this, I just kind of pick a corner of the image and just kind of go with that. The backhand is always the most interesting because it's like you don't know if it's being fully covered by the body. So I left a little bit of space on the left side of her left arm to show that the light was slightly touching that other side of the arm as well. And I was just going between the thighs, adding some shape to things that don't really have figure. One of the important things about adding shade is there are going to be parts of the shading that you're going to have to add figure to yourself, so that it's not so that you can, because you can always follow the line, but there's going to be those parts where you have to round it out to really give that volume of the shape, like I did in between the thighs at the bottom of the swimsuit. You should round it based on what you're imagining the shape to be in 3D, so that it's not just a flat line and the image doesn't come out flat. You'll round it or square it, however you would do it, to give that extra depth when you're shading. And with the highlights, I just kind of went simple. I could have gone with the highlight around the body, but I didn't want to make her body seeming that shiny, so I just kind of added some lines here and there to give a little bit of shine, because you know, she's in a swimsuit, she's probably at the beach, she probably has some oil or suntan lotion, so or sunscreen for that matter. So I just add that to all parts of the body and the hair. I had those lines there, but I didn't really like how they looked, so I just removed those because it got in the way of the highlights that I wanted. Then I'm just adding to the jewelry, going into other things, and like going back and forth, seeing what I like, what I don't like about it. Then I had to remove all the colors to add the freckles. That's one tip I'll give you guys is really important for me, is I add as much detail as I can in the sketch, so when I'm coloring I can always reference back to the sketch, because the sketch is probably the most freeform aspect of the process that is there. So when you're going through it, you can enjoy just going wild with whatever you have, because you always know there's something to go back to. The looser your sketches, the more you have to add the details in the line art and the coloring. But I add the most details in the sketch for me, because it makes the whole coloring and line art process easier and less tedious for me when I go about it. And I usually just picked your skin tone, and then multiplied that layer, and there is the last product. I just kind of went with, like I said, a simple style. I actually forgot to go in and shade some parts and highlight some parts, so I went back in there and did that. But I appreciate you all for listening. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. That'll really help me make more content like this. And you can catch me on Instagram at ren_the_governor. And that's all for you. I hope this video helps with you guys a little bit with your process and just being able to join me doing this. So much love all.